Before Europe had borders on maps, before nations had constitutions, power here was inherited, defended, and married into. For thousands of years, European royal families weren't just symbols. They were the living machinery of politics, religion, and war. To understand modern Europe, we have to go back to the deep roots of royalty, starting not in glittering palaces, but in ancient tribal traditions. Here, leadership was tied to myth and the belief that certain bloodlines were favored by the gods. This idea traces back to Greece and Rome, where kingship was first linked to divine approval and heroic lineage. Kings were seen as standing closer to the heavens. Even when Greek city-states experimented with democracy, royal traditions survived in genealogies, connecting families to heroes like Hercules. In Rome, the shift from kings to a republic and then an empire created a new model of hereditary power. Emperors adopted heirs and married strategically, building dynasties like the Julio-Claudians. They blended blood relations with political necessity, setting a pattern that would echo across Europe for centuries. When the Western Roman Empire collapsed in the 5th century, it didn't erase the idea of monarchy. It scattered it. Germanic, Frankish, and Anglo-Saxon rulers adapted Roman authority and Christian belief into new royal traditions. Kings now ruled not just by force, but by sacred ritual and anointing ceremonies, claiming links to both ancient heroes and biblical figures. As Christianity spread, royal families wrapped their legitimacy in religion, presenting themselves as God's chosen rulers. This concept later became known as the divine right of kings. But medieval Europe was a patchwork of kingdoms, and royal families constantly negotiated power with nobles, clergy, and rival dynasties. They married daughters to enemies, exchanged sons as hostages, and turned family trees into political roadmaps. Nowhere was this more visible than with the Carolingian dynasty under Charlemagne. His coronation as Holy Roman Emperor in 800 AD symbolized a revival of imperial authority, reinforcing the idea that royal power was both inherited and sanctified. But after his death, the empire was divided among his heirs, highlighting a central tension: the conflict between family inheritance and political stability. This problem would haunt European monarchies for centuries. As kingdoms grew, succession often led to civil wars. Look at medieval England, where the Norman Conquest of 1066 replaced one royal house with another, blending Viking, French, and Anglo-Saxon traditions. The new monarchy relied on feudal loyalty and legal reforms. Meanwhile, in France, the Capetian dynasty strengthened royal authority by emphasizing succession through the male line, a practice that shaped politics across the continent. By the late Middle Ages, royal courts were centers of culture and ceremony. Elaborate rituals and architecture reinforced the image of monarchy as timeless and divinely ordained. But behind the scenes, kings and queens struggled with rebellions and financial shortages. Royal tradition was as much about survival as it was about symbolism. This fragile balance became even more pronounced as dynastic marriages created sprawling networks of related royal houses. The most famous were the Habsburgs, whose strategy of marrying rather than conquering allowed them to control vast territories. It led to the saying that others wage war, while the Habsburgs marry. This brought immense power, but also genetic complications that historians have linked to repeated intermarriage. By the early modern era, European royal families had gone global. They funded exploration and colonization, with monarchs like Spain's Ferdinand and Isabella sponsoring voyages that reshaped world history. In England, the Tudor dynasty used marriage and ruthless politics to secure the throne after decades of civil war, transforming the monarchy into a symbol of national identity. But then the Reformation shattered Europe's religious unity. Kings and queens were forced to choose between Catholicism and Protestantism, a decision that often determined whether their rule would survive. Violent conflicts swept across Europe, like the 30 Years' War, which proved that royal tradition alone couldn't guarantee stability. In response, absolutist monarchies emerged, particularly in France under Louis XIV. He tried to centralize power and present himself as the embodiment of the state, famously captured in the phrase, "I am the state." But at the same time, philosophers began to question the limits of hereditary rule, laying the groundwork for revolution. Nowhere was this challenge more dramatic than in late 18th century France. The French Revolution dismantled centuries of royal tradition in just a few years, executing a king and queen and declaring that sovereignty belonged to the people. This sent shockwaves through Europe's royal courts, forcing them to adapt or risk extinction. Although some rulers tried to restore absolutism after Napoleon's fall, the 19th century was a turning point. Constitutional monarchies gradually replaced unchecked royal authority. The role of royal families was redefined. They became symbolic leaders bound by law, maintaining traditions while evolving. In Britain, the monarchy survived by embracing parliamentary supremacy and transforming its public image through rituals and charity. Elsewhere, royal houses fell entirely. In Russia, the Romanov dynasty was overthrown in the early 20th century, ending one of Europe's longest ruling families in a brutal chapter of history. As Europe entered the modern era, royal families faced an identity crisis. No longer ruling by divine right, they were expected to serve as cultural symbols and diplomatic figures in democratic societies. This required a careful reinvention. Monarchs navigated world wars, decommunization, and intense media scrutiny, adapting traditions of mystique into more accessible, humanized images to stay relevant. Today, European royal families exist in a complex space between history and modernity. They preserve ancient rituals like coronations and royal weddings, connecting the present to a distant past. At the same time, they engage with contemporary issues like mental health and environmental awareness. This shows that royal tradition isn't a static relic, but a living narrative shaped by survival, adaptation, and public consent. While some argue that monarchy is an outdated institution, others see it as a stabilizing cultural thread in a rapidly changing world. The debate remains active, reflecting the long and contradictory history of royal families themselves. From ancient kings claiming descent from gods to modern monarchs bound by constitutions, the tradition of European royalty is a story about power, belief, and identity. It's about our enduring fascination with lineage and legacy. Crowns may glitter and titles may fade, but the idea of monarchy has continually reshaped itself. And through this long journey, we don't just get a history of rulers, but a deeper understanding of Europe's past and the forces that continue to shape its present. Perhaps that is why royal traditions still captivate us today, not because they are untouched by time, but because they carry the weight of it, so visibly inviting us to reflect on how history lives on in ceremony memory and the stories we continue to tell. Thanks for watching, And don't forget to subscribe for more journeys into our shared past.